This is it. This is it. Somebody's life's about to change, in the words of Leo in Titanic. Big weekend. Some of you know that you got big games that you could lose. Some of you have games you could lose that you're unaware of. That's what upset alerts are for. We're jam-packed. We're high atop. Just a glowing downtown Nashville, Tennessee. Had a little false fall a couple of weeks ago. Saw some really embarrassing scenes. Jackets, long sleeves around the downtown area, and they're back. Shirtless today. They're back. 80s all around, no 50s in sight. Yeah, but what we do have is we got a gigantic, not even a gigantic, just a gigantic college football Saturday and Friday night on tap. Florida State, less than a touchdown favorite at Virginia. What in the world's happening there? We will discuss. I got upset alert ratings on a lot of games. I've got a Notre Dame Arkansas breakdown. I told you I wouldn't leave you hung out to dry there. We got Tennessee, Mississippi State. No, I'm not leaving that game off. I told you we had an overflow situation the other day. So some games have been spilled to Thursday. I've got the commissioner's poll. I would say probably the boldest commissioner's poll that we've had to date, not power ratings. This is where we do rankings. This is the real thing. This is where we rank teams. It's resume. It's you sometimes are what your record says you are. If I were a playoff committee member, how would I rank teams? That whole thing we do on Thursday night. And Cubelic's joining us from some nondescript parking lot in the greater Birmingham metro area. And we got a lot to talk about with him. I've got some candid wedding footage of him that we just have in the holster ready to go. They're watching us in Flagstaff, Arizona. Kirkham? I would assume that's the pronunciation. It's in England. And, it's not in Colorado. Morristown, Tennessee is watching. St. Louis, Missouri is watching. We're back to the Friday night lines happening in the middle of the afternoon tomorrow. We're going to try and do the thing where we play softball tomorrow night, then we fly to Illinois late tomorrow night, then we're at USC, Illinois early Saturday, then we're down in Athens by the time Georgia and Alabama kick off, then we're back home in bed by like 1 a.m. I would highly recommend following on Instagram if you want to see all that documented, at Josh Pate CFB. I'm saying we're doing Friday night lines tomorrow at 5 Eastern, 4 Central. So tune in accordingly. 5 Eastern, 4 Central. Friday night lines rolled last week. A lot of money made by a lot of people. If you already have money and you don't need it, I don't recommend tuning in. If you're a fan of money, I don't need you loving money. Don't be loving money. But you can have a good solid like for money, and you can tune in to Friday night lines. Or if you just want to be entertained, whatever. All right, let's go. We got a lot to get to tonight. Jam-packed Thursday show. Whoo, upset alert time. The 1 to 10 scale, the upset alert concern meter is back, powered by our friends at Flex Power. Oh, by the way, myflexpower.com, that little 3,300 iWatt generator over there, flying off the shelves, as it should be when they power us, especially upset alerts. Indiana at Iowa. You saw what they did. Everyone saw what they did. I feel like I may be deposed as a witness because I watched what Indiana did to Illinois last week. And they're favored by 7.5. And Purge. The Purge got the monitor again. They're favored by 7.5 at Iowa. And I'm not all that concerned. I know I should be. I know what conventional betting logic says. Forget about betting, I know what college football logic says. There is a progression and a regression to the mean. Yeah, but I don't know that math and logic has really meant Iowa football. How does this happen? How does Indiana get beat at Iowa? This needs to be such an ugly game for Iowa. Iowa last week, they played against Rutgers. They won and covered, which is great news, right? They had a special teams touchdown. They had a couple of missed field goals they benefited from. Indiana's a top 20 run defense, too. So, there is going to come a time here, I regret to inform you, where Iowa's got to throw the ball to win. They're just not that interested in that. So if you can keep Indiana 24 or less, maybe you've got a shot to pull the upset. Anything more than that, you got to outscore them. I just don't see it. I know it happens every year. I know there's this game every year. I can't see it happening, and it happens. But I got to see it. So I'm putting a 4 on the upset alert concern scale here. I just got to see it. Next up, the game will be at, early on Saturday at least, USC at Illinois. USC favored by 6.5. Big character check for Illinois. Just got splattered all over the place last week, and they come home. And remember, I told you in June and July and August, I told you this game was the one for USC. This one is circled, and I have not backed off of that. Even though America's attention may have backed off of this game a little bit, has a little bit less prestige around it, a little bit less glow around it. since Illinois got dismembered last week. But you know what? Being embarrassed in this sport does a funny thing to a veteran roster, right? And then you also have the opportunity to just play this game in a phone booth. The old Big 12 or Big 10 stereotype, welcoming USC to that party. It's a 9 a.m. body clock kickoff for USC. Here's what concerns me, and here's why I'm going to put a 6.5 on the upset alert concern scale here, but no higher. Luke Altmaier's performance, quarterback there for Illinois, against better teams, it just doesn't scale. So he's a redshirt senior. It's not like there's a lot we have left to figure out about his game. He's got good numbers, okay? 70% completion guy, 9 touchdowns, no picks through the air. It's not that. It's just I am very concerned, like I was last week, as it turns out, that the other guy can score. Okay, last week it was Fernando Mendoza. It was Indiana. This week it's Jaden Maiava. It's USC. I've made my thoughts very clearly known about Maiava and how he's a better fit for Lincoln even than Caleb Williams was. And that's not some hot take. Like, what do I even want you to click on? It's not clickbait. There's nothing to click on. These are just, it's a video. Well, I guess you could click on the video. No one's clicking to hear me say that. I really mean when I say Jaden Maiava is a better fit here. He's operating that offense better than Caleb did. So the point being, you've got to trade shots with him unless you're going to greatly compress this game and you're going to be like 9 of 14 on third downs and continue to move the chains and limit them to like 7 or 8 possessions. And I think you're going to be hard-pressed to do that. USC's more balanced, too. They can run the ball this year. Have you heard? I had someone predict they're going to run it for 8 yards per carry in this game. It's a little aggressive. Not necessary. I'm going to put a 6.5 on the upset alert concern scale. We don't go to games that are below a 6. So I can't do that to myself. Next up, Georgia Tech plays Wake Forest. Georgia Tech's a 13.5-point favorite. Wake Forest just kind of creeping around, as Wake Forest is wont to do. They played North Carolina State close. That's one compliment I can give them. I watched that game while I was at First Horizon Park to watch the Nashville Sounds take on the Gwinnett Stripers. Big AAA baseball guy here. Yeah, baseball game was going on. I was watching NC State Wake in the monitor. Yes, I was in a suite. No, I did not pay for it. So that begins and ends the debate there. Georgia Tech has a very unique profile about their offense. It's fun to watch. It's all Haynes King. And that's no disrespect. Actually, I want it to be a little disrespectful to the rest of that offense because I kind of want some folks to pick up the slack a little bit. The problem there is no problem. When Haynes King is healthy and when Haynes King is running the ball well, there's no problem. I don't know that he can just keep doing that. And if there's one week where it's just not there for him, you're in big trouble if everyone just keeps looking to him to bail him out. Wake Forest is 132nd in red zone offense. Or red zone, is this offense or defense I wrote down, Jesse? Yeah, because that's a mess here. Anyway, the point was going to be the same. When it's this early in the season and you're that bad in a stat category, it's still within the realm of possibility that it's just a weird sample size. You haven't gotten a whole lot of opportunities down there. It's just a freak occurrence, and you're actually a lot better than that, and the rest of the season will go on to bear that out. What you want to do is you want to buy extremely low. There is no lower point you can buy in terms of red zone offense than Wake here. So this is the Robbie Ashford experience. You got to sign up for that anytime that you're riding Wake Forest. It's not fun. It's not pleasurable. Immunity to it all. But sometimes you got to do it. I'm just not doing it. This is not an upset alert that I'm buying into. I'm putting 4.5 on it. I trust Brent Key. I trust Georgia Tech. But I will have one eye peeled because that is the nature of the Robbie Ashford experience and the Haynes King experience. Next up is a game I am petrified by. Kentucky at South Carolina. This game's in Columbia. It's in the cockpit, but it is not Cocktober yet. Cocktober cannot get here soon enough. My goodness. This line's 5.5. That counts home field advantage, people. So what we're saying here is there is less than a field goal gap between these teams on a neutral field. And I agree. South Carolina cannot run it right now. They've got poor wide receiver depth, which was my biggest fear, that I was told was going to be a moot point by certain message board posters that have let me down. I don't even know that the players have let me down, Jesse. I think some of our friends on the Carolina message boards have let me down. Sellers is relying on explosive plays, and when they work, they're great. The problem is the favorite here in this game, South Carolina, is 122nd in total yards, 130th in rush yards. I I'm not feeling great about it, man. I'm not feeling great about it. There's a lot. I'll continue. There's a lot that points to Kentucky here, just to be frank with you. Kentucky can run it. That is the weakness of the South Carolina defense right now. You just saw Kentucky limit South Carolina. Not South Carolina. They could do that Saturday. They limited Ole Miss at home. They just played them a couple of weeks ago. Notably, famously, Lane failed to cover for us. I'm concerned. I'm putting a 9 on it. I think they could win outright. Cubelic's got this game, I believe. So Cubelic went up there a couple of weeks ago, thought he was going to see a great game. Vandy, South Carolina, turned out not to be the case. Maybe this is the great game. It comes out of nowhere. Yeah, it's a 9 for me. That thing could easily go the way of Mark Stoops in Kentucky. He's good for one of those per year. Next up, Ohio State's at Washington. There's been a weird kind of defensive energy all week from my Buckeye friends. I've been saying stuff like, man, y'all are going to love Seattle. Have fun. And they're like, Buckeyes by 90, bro. I didn't even make a point about the game. Calm down. You just won a national title 15 minutes ago. Why are you so edgy? It's not Michigan. That was wrong. But, hey, they've made me look like a fool 4 years in a row picking them. So this is Washington. You should go up there and win. But how would it happen if you didn't? Well, Julian Sayan's first road start, not easy. This is definitely not an easy place to play. You got the quarterback edge on the side of Washington. You got home field, obviously, there. If Ohio State starts slow, which you would think, oh, they're coming out of the bye, they won't. Well, they did when they played Nebraska last year, coming out of the bye. Terrified me. So there's a little bit of precedent here for a Ryan Day team stumbling out of the bye week. These are still two new coordinators. Matt Patricia doesn't need to prove anything else to me, but you just never know. There's still a lot of newness on this team. Just beating Texas doesn't magically green checkmark everything to the end of time. It just means there may be some flaws, maybe some relative deficiencies that Texas didn't expose. Who knows? Maybe you got to go on the road for them to be exposed. Maybe there is no deficiency and Ohio State wins by 30. But that doesn't make this segment fun. I'm putting a 6 on the upset alert concern scale here. Now, I've talked to Ohio State fans all week. There's no world where they can even envision this upset. I know that. I get it. It could happen, though. I'm going to put a 6 on it. It could happen. And lastly, this is a Friday night game. That's why we're doing it last. Florida State's at Virginia. Now, we've had Florida State power rated down a little bit still in the JP poll, not to be confused with the commissioner's poll. And then we've had Bama in the top 5, right? Now, the JP poll is just neutral field favorability, doesn't care what your resume is. You don't earn anything. It's just who would be favored against who on a neutral field. And everyone's been like, why do you still have Bama way ahead of FSU? Why isn't FSU way higher? Well, it's because Bama would still be favored by over a touchdown against Florida State. And then I pause, and they're like, bro, did you not see the week 1 game? Not only did Bama get beat, they got embarrassed. You're telling me if you gave me Florida State plus 8+ on a neutral field against Bama, I'd take it all day. Hey, I may as well. But that's not the point. The point's what the line would be. Anyway, if you want evidence of that, it's on the board this week. You want to know what an odds maker's opinion of these teams respectively is. Bama's going to Georgia, and they're less than a field goal dog. FSU's on the road at Virginia, and they're less than a touchdown favorite. I can promise you if Bama's in Charlottesville, something's gone horribly wrong. But if they're in Charlottesville, they're a double-digit favorite. Just to give you an idea relatively of how this stuff works. Having said that, how does this happen? How does Florida State not win this by double digits? This line is not a typo. FSU minus 6.5. Now, here's what I want to make sure that you understand. Because a lot of you are thinking like me. A lot of you are saying, bro, this line's all out of whack. Here's how you know it's hard to bet above 50%. You're saying that and you know nothing about Virginia. So how do you know the line's out of whack when you don't know anything about half the participants in the game? Now, who is Virginia? They're already over 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Virginia and pounding the rocks, it's not stuff we're used to saying in the same sentences, sentence I, plural of sentences, or sentence. But they are. Chandler Morris, veteran quarterback, probably not going to New York City in the Heisman conversation, but a veteran quarterback. And for all the hype, this is like highlight mode. Everyone's mind in the modern age thinks of highlight mode. When I mention Tommy Castellanos, you think Bama game. Good. Yeah, I watched it too. He looked great. Okay, that's assumably his ceiling. What's his floor? We don't know. We haven't seen the Tommy Castellanos floor game. Now, if we don't see it Friday night, this is a moot point, but it's got to be out there somewhere. I guess that's how this would happen. I got Florida State winning this thing comfortably, so I'm putting like 5 on it. But, you know, they are going to play the game. At last check, they are going to play the game still. You want to go to any of those games, you can. Just make sure you fill the tank up at Quick Trip. Make sure you head in, get a little cold brew on tap at Quick Trip. Make sure you find some goodies, some odds and ends. You know, tell the folks we sent you. There's no discount per se. The way you get discounts is just beg me for discounts on social. Tag Quick Trip in it, by the way. But they are fueling our tour. They're fueling us big time this Saturday because we'll be at Illinois at the early game and we'll be at Georgia for the late game, and they make it possible. We really, really appreciate them. And someone complimented us yesterday. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, and they said, this is the only show where I don't fast forward through the ad reads because they kind of feel like the show. Well, the secret to that is have great relationships with your partners. You guys who have been around a while know Quick Trip, it's not some brand that randomly spent through a third party and we just plopped them down on our show. We did a whole recruitment. We committed to Quick Trip. They give away free gas all the time. I saw them when I was in Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago. I send inappropriate jokes constantly to their management team. In fact, they probably have maximum leverage over us. They probably don't even have to pay to be on the show. I hope they don't realize that. I need to shut up. So, yeah, Quick Trip. We love them, and they love us. Let's move on. Got a couple of games to predict here. Notre Dame is at Arkansas. Saturday, noon Eastern time kickoff, 11 a.m. in Fayette, Nam. This game's on ABC. Let me just set the table here. I can't believe this is real. This is a paper popper of a stat. 4 losses in this game by a combined 11 points. Arkansas's had 2 late fumbles, one being the most inexplicable I've ever seen against Memphis. And then Notre Dame lost by 3 to Miami. They lost by 1 to A&M. 4 losses in this game by 11 points total. Arkansas, just to give you an idea of how terrible that Memphis game was, 17 red zone trips for Arkansas. They've got 16 touchdowns. Guess what the one exception was? The one where they didn't even need to score a TD. They just needed to center the ball up to kick a game-winning field goal. Oops! Blue team has the ball now. We lose. Woo pig. It's a must-win from here on out for Notre Dame. If they lose Saturday, they're a 3-loss team. They're out of the playoff, and we've still got a month to go until Halloween. Crazy. Notre Dame can make this academic. Okay, Arkansas has allowed 24 rushes of 10-plus yards. In a former life, a.k.a. last year, Notre Dame could just run it down your throat. If that's your stat profile, they could run it down your throat. You're telling me you're 123rd in run defense? I'm telling you, C.J. Carr, rest your arm, my friend. You don't really need to throw the ball all that much. Love and Price get rolling. They get right on the road. They silence the crowd. It sounds so simple. Notre Dame football has been anything but simple this year so far. There is also the former life where Notre Dame knows when we run the ball, we're doing that in conjunction with a dominant defense. That is nowhere to be found for them this year. So, yeah, that's the way you want the game to profile, especially on the road. May not be the way the game profiles. I hope it does for their sake, though, because if it doesn't, you can't be putting C.J. Carr in a bad spot here. Arkansas is a pretty good pressure team. And if you put him in a situation where it's 3rd and 7+ a whole lot, Notre Dame's offensive tackles, I don't know if I can trust them on the road in this environment. And you want to find out, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you're just going to this game because Arkansas, when will I ever go to the state of Arkansas? Well, you should. It's a great state. I storm chase there all the time. But if you're thinking, I'll just go down there, we'll get us a win. If Arkansas has the lead on you, you have no clue what you're about to encounter. You have no clue. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, if you grab a lead, they'll spill out of there. They'll beat the traffic. Only the diehards and Trey Biddy will be there by the end of the game. But if they're in it, you ask Sark in Texas what that place is like. If you give Arkansas some oxygen, if that defense for Notre Dame basically just does what they've been doing, Leonard Moore questionable in this game, by the way. Yeah, if that happens, it's game on. Taylon Green, 14.7 yards per completion, 8.2 yards per carry. He's been dominant. This is the worst nightmare of a defense trying to get right. That Notre Dame pass defense, was 4th in the country last year. They are 132nd. They've gone from 4th in the country to only 4 teams being worse than them. That's almost the way the math actually works out. There's no way to avoid this. Taylor Green's going to get his. What you hope if you're Notre Dame is he throws a couple of interceptions in there along with it, which he has done a couple of times this year, but he is 6th in the country in explosive passes. Notre Dame is 96th in explosive pass plays allowed. That's how you find yourself unable to just run the ball and take the air out of it. If it's 17-3 Arkansas early, that's how that would happen. Here's my issue. Even if Arkansas is good versus the run and they trade points, even if all that happens, Arkansas's defense is 116th in the country on third down conversions allowed. Green, like I said, has got a couple of multi-interception games so far this year, and frankly, I don't trust him in one-possession games. Pittman's now 7-19 in this spot that almost surely figures to come down to the wire, even if Arkansas is to win it. So let's take a look at what the model thinks. FanDuel's got Notre Dame minus 4.5 right now. Model thought the line was right earlier this week. Notre Dame minus 6. I am going to bank on the fact that Notre Dame's defense can't possibly be this horrific all year. There's nowhere to go but up. Really, they're laying on the ground. There's nowhere to go but up unless they break out the shovel. And if they break out a shovel around Chris Ash, it will not be to just dig further down. It'll be to turn that thing into a weapon. So I'm going to take Notre Dame to win and cover. That was a gut punch last week, the way Arkansas gave that game away / Memphis took the game from Arkansas. Notre Dame can't be out of the playoffs already. They just can't be. There's no way the script writers would write this season like that. There's no way. Academy Sports and Outdoors knows that it is already Thursday, and they know you got stuff to do Saturday. Now, some of you may be coaching the kiddos in flag football. Some of you may be tailgating. Some of you may be doing both. If you've got the late kickoff or the early kickoffs, you can sometimes mix in both. I hope you have several monitors to watch the ongoing action on Saturday while you do such things. But go to Academy beforehand. Academy.com if you can't get there in person. Preferably you just get there in person. Wonderful people, wonderful selection. I always challenge anyone who thinks, seen one sporting goods store, seen them all. Drugs. Not there. Not even in the parking lot. No, it's a clean store. We wouldn't be in business with them if not. But don't be saying stuff like that. Go to Academy. Check out the selection and realize how much stuff is there that you didn't know was there, but you need. You're going on Amazon to buy stuff. You could be going to Academy to buy, and you support the show in the process. We appreciate them. We appreciate you. Let's roll on. Big game. Big game in Starkville. Tennessee at Mississippi State. Saturday, 4:15 Eastern kick, 3:15 local. SEC Network. Let's set the table. This could be a 5 Chalai Classic out of nowhere. I'm calling at least 4 Chalai on this game. This is Joey on the road. It could be the name of a documentary. Joey Aguilar here. First road start. You never know. Meemaw used to tell me, you never know what you got in a college team until they played on the road. You don't know about a college football player until they played on the road. Now, Josh Heupel may have just found his Hendon Hooker 2.0 here. He could have. But, Arizona State thought they had theirs as well. And then Leavitt was 10 of 22 for 82 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks when they went into Starkville a little while ago. Mississippi State's 4-0. You know what that means? It is September 25th. The over has already hit for them this year. Was that right, Jesse? 3.5 was the preseason win total? Yeah, the over's hit. Cash it. What are you going to do the other 3 months out of the year? Just enjoy your winnings in Starkville. I know you got to wait to the end of the season to cash those tickets. But, yeah, what does Mississippi State find through the air in this game? Blake Shapen, steady hand at quarterback. Again, not New York City bound, but steady. Not a question mark at the QB position. He's 7 touchdowns, 2 picks this year. Now, here's the difference in Mississippi State, the way they're doing things right now, some teams. Their top 2 receiving threats, 38 catches, 581 yards. The rest of their receiving room, 33 catches, 361. So they've been heavily reliant on their top 2 guys so far this year. Tennessee, because you've got that Georgia result baked in and the Syracuse result baked in. They faced Gunnar Stockton, Steve Angeli prior to his injury. Tennessee's 126th in pass yards per game allowed. Pretty good pass rush, though. There's kind of a detachment right now. Tennessee, they can get to the quarterback. They can pressure the quarterback. They can push the pocket, but they face 2 good quarterbacks. who have stood in there and said, all right, I see you in my face. I see guys down the field as well. Mississippi State in that Arizona State game, if you didn't watch it, it's not like they just moved the ball up and down the field consistently. What they did, though, is they hit 3 big plays through the air that won them the game. Tennessee is 132nd defensively in explosive pass plays allowed. That's the formula. It's there. It'll be there. That's the formula. Good news for Tennessee is I think they've got the offensive line to go on the road and grind out a win, running the ball like you're going to have to do in a game like this. Mississippi State, I'm telling you, I know most of you hadn't watched them. That's why I watch them for you, so you don't have to, but you should. You can score on them, but you're not scoring in these 3-4 play drive type sequences. They are totally happy going umbrella on you, and if you go 10, 11 plays on us, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. That means patience. That means consistent, good decision-making. But if you can run the ball, it makes it a lot easier. Tennessee's got a top 30 rushing offense right now. MSU about 65th, 70th, somewhere in there against the run. Arizona State, I cannot get this out of my mind. They got down early, pretty big, against Mississippi State, and then they ran it to get back in the game. 30 of the next 38, something like that, plays were run plays. So, Tennessee, nobody is perfect, okay? There is a crack or two in everyone's profile. It's, can you match it? Do you match up good with it? And I can lean myself enough over to the Mississippi State side to say, I like their shot here. I like their outside shot to win the game outright. It could be a game out of nowhere, I think, on the public's radar, because this is being billed as such a big weekend. And this is that afternoon window right before the primetime games. This game is ending as the big games late are starting. And I could easily see, Bama and Georgia kicking off, and Penn State and Oregon are kicking off. And you find yourself doing something you never thought you'd do, flipping back and forth to Mississippi State-Tennessee game during the first quarter, because it's that wild in the fourth quarter. If Mississippi State wins this, buddy, a lot of people are going to learn Jeff Lebby who have never learned Jeff Lebby before. And if Tennessee loses this game, big-time Notre Dame vibes. Because Tennessee's not going down there and getting blown out, so if they lose, it'll be a really close game. And you'll find them having lost to Georgia at the gun. You'll find them having lost to Mississippi State on the road, just a contender out of nowhere. And you're saying, I feel like we got a really good team. Oh, crap, we got 2 losses. Well, that's kind of what Notre Dame's saying right now. And Notre Dame may have 3 losses by this point. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. FanDuel paints this now as Tennessee minus 7.5. You will recall we got this game earlier in the week as a best bet. I've loved Mississippi State all week. So I got Mississippi State plus 9.5 earlier this week as a best bet. I'd still take Mississippi State at anything above a touchdown. But I do think Tennessee's going to find a way to eke out a win, just a really close win. So give me Tennessee to win. Give me Mississippi State to cover. I think we got a classic game incoming. Raleigh, North Carolina is tuned in. Tulsa, Oklahoma tuned in. Medford, Oregon also tuned in. You know what time it is. The Commissioner's Poll, Week 5 edition, is in, proudly generated by our friends at Flex Power. These are rankings. These are not power ratings. So if I'm an AP voter, unlike them, I actually watch the games. Apologies. This is what it should look like. If you're maybe a playoff committee member, pay attention. This is kind of how it should sound. You watch the games. You erase your preseason expectations because you actually have game footage to watch now, and then you rank the teams accordingly. Merit, resume. I don't care what I thought in July. Your storylines from media days should be out the window. I'm ruining it for a lot of you, I know. Let's start 25. I've still got USF up here because I didn't dump them the moment they lost a game. Like this, the Boise win still happened. The Florida win on the road still happened. TCU has cracked the Commissioner's Poll. They are number 24. I am paying attention to you. Yes. Washington. Someone told you Ohio State's going on the road to face an unranked team this weekend. No, they're not. That's just AP propaganda. They haven't watched a single Washington game. I have. This is a good team. They deserve to be ranked. They are. Number 23. Bama's number 22. JP Poll has them top 5. They're less than a field goal underdog at Georgia. I don't care when it comes to ranking them. They need to prove that they can do something. And all due respect to Wisconsin, blown out against Maryland. You don't prove it against UL Monroe in Wisconsin. Once you did what you did to me, because I picked you to win the national title, in week 1 against Florida State, you have to, you got to prove it. You got to earn our trust back here at the Commissioner's Poll headquarters. Mississippi State with the interlocking logo, number 21, with an opportunity to springboard big time against Tennessee this weekend. Top 20, Michigan. I respect what I saw. I saw Michigan in person this past weekend. That's a team I wish I could take a wide receiver core from a team in the 30s and hand them to Michigan, and they'll probably be a top 10 team right now. Still looking really good, though. Southern Cal, going to see them in person this Saturday. Number 19, I got Tennessee 18. Excuse us for actually watching Texas and ignoring our preseason ranking and going by actual resume. Texas is not a top 10 team right now. We got Texas parked at 17. When they earn the right to be ranked higher, we will rank them higher. Okay, we don't flex here at the Commissioner's Poll on Sam Houston State. Or we may flex on them, but we're not going to flex and then bump you up to the top 10. We are not impressed yet. So we got you at 17. Iowa State at 16. Doesn't matter what the line would be on a neutral field. To all the JP poll truthers out there, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know why you people even do that power rating nonsense. Couldn't be us. Couldn't be us on Thursdays. Top 15. Missouri, baby. Missouri ascending. That's a team in ascension mode. Frankly, the only reason they're not higher is because they haven't been fed bigger chunks of meat yet. There's no immunity. I said it and I meant it. Ole Miss, number 14. JP poll loves them. Commissioner's poll loves them. Got a big shot against LSU. Top 5 team, according to every poll coming in there to Oxford this weekend. Georgia Tech, I've got at 13. The AP still has them down lower. It's pathetic. I got Indiana at 12. They vaulted up big time. I will admit, we were too low on Indiana. So I watched the splattering last week. Apologies, won't happen again. Got them at 12. Got A&M at 11. Let's go top 10 here. I got Penn State down at 10. Okay, they've done nothing of note so far this year. I don't care what I expect them to do, because once they do it, then I'll reflect it in the Commissioner's Poll. Right now, you've beaten Altoona High, Susquehanna Community College. That's about it. Now you got Oregon coming in. So if you handle business against Oregon, it stands to reason you'll be higher. Penn State, lucky to be top 10 right now. Texas Tech at 9. Unbelievable. Dominant performance with a backup quarterback the second half on the road at Utah. I told you, the big story coming out of that game may be, is one of these teams more than just a Big 12 contender? I think Texas Tech's more than just a Big 12 contender. Big rat poison out in Lubbock. I got Vandy top 10. Why would you have Vanderbilt at number 8, Josh? The AP only has them at 18. Well, I've watched them play. Most of the AP voters haven't. They can barely tell you what city they play in. They treat Vanderbilt like it's tennis. Because when you ask them about Vanderbilt, they say Diego Pavia. No, I asked you about Vanderbilt. Yeah, Diego Pavia. Buddy, they got 10 other guys out there on offense. What are you talking about? There's an entire defensive side of the ball. You know they got like 84 other scholarship players there? Oh, yeah, but Diego Pavia. Oh, well, again, because I've watched them. I watched them skull drag Virginia Tech. I watched them go in and empty out Williams-Brice Stadium at night. You know, everyone wanted to hype that stuff up before. Oh, it's going to be tough, Lane Stadium. Well, then you go in there and mute Lane Stadium and you don't get credit for it. And you do the same thing in South Carolina. You don't get credit for it. Why? Because you're not supposed to be here. Well, I don't really care what I thought about you in the preseason. I'm going to go based on what you've done. And for good measure, they just decapitated Georgia State last week. Well, that's not a big deal. Well, it is when they're covering the spread by like 3 touchdowns. And some of you out there are like tomato canning your way to barely winning these games. Cal, hello? So, yeah, I got Vanderbilt top 10. I got them at 8. I got Oregon at 7, Florida State at 6. The top 5, Georgia, LSU 5 and 4, respectively. I've got Oklahoma at number 3. The AP's got them at 7. This is not acknowledging the Mateer injury, because I'm going based on what you have done, not what I expect that you may be. That's where power ratings differ a little bit. So I'm not knocking them because their quarterback's out. Plus, he's going to come back. The dude's hand surgeon's posting on message boards. Of course he's going to come back. How can you not be romantic? When medicine and college football unite, it's a beautiful thing. Ohio State 2, And happy birthday, Mario Cristobal, Miami, #1. I know they love that down there. They're huge fans of that. That's the commissioner's poll. That's the way it should look, ladies and gentlemen. And it's the way it could look if people actually watch the games. FanDuel is your place, man. It's a big weekend coming up. Bama, Georgia, playing, for example, 50% profit boost token on that game. I'm hearing in my ear right now, 50% profit boost token there. We did a bonus bet giveaway the other night, and I really underestimated how many of you wanted bonus bets. So they gave us the numbers. It was pretty staggering. So you need to go check your account, by the way. If you registered for that, we just gave 10 of you $100 a piece. And I am confidently told by FanDuel, we're going to do more of that with bigger money. But if you're checking your account and you find that there's a $100 clerical error in your favor, it's not an error. I just had FanDuel give 10 of you $100. So if you're a new customer, you can use the QR code there, or you can go to fanduel.com/Josh Pate and sign up this week if you want one of those bonus bets for your own. There it is. Bet $5. If you win on any bet, you get $300 in bonus bets. And that is not technically free money. Theoretically, you could lose, but you go bet a 3-touchdown favorite on the money line, you're unlikely to lose. That's my advice to you. All right, Ramen Noodle Express editions here. And then we're going to go to Cubelic. I've already got some games on the board here. So we got Mississippi State. We got them early in the week. This number is not available anymore. The price we got it at. Mississippi State plus 9.5. We're betting on food. Rice plus 14.5. Will food allow us to eat? Hawaii plus 6.5. We're betting against multiple service academy this weekend. Ole Miss minus 1.5. All right, I'm adding 2 games here. UCF, we love them. Against Kansas State, we waited for a better number. We don't care. They may win the game outright. Not to be confused with Central Florida, which doesn't exist. UCF plus 5.5. And the game we're going to be at, a rare total here, Bama, Georgia over 53.5. I like both offensive staffs against both defensive staffs. So, I think that game's going to be closer to 60 than 50. So Bama, Georgia over 53.5, UCF plus 5.5. Those are the 2 additions tonight. Remember, Friday Night Lines on Instagram Live tomorrow afternoon at Josh Pate CFB, 5 Eastern, 4 Central. And before we get to Cubelic, if you're going to any of those games, if you're looking at tickets for anything this weekend, you could be going and seeing a concert. I don't know why you would, but you could. If you're buying the tickets anyway, I'm getting you a discount at SeatGeek, okay? You keep asking me, what's the code? The code is PATE10, PATE10. So you don't have to buy the tickets now. You can do it in 2 hours. But make sure at checkout you use the checkout code, PATE10, because you're buying the tickets anyway. So you're going to pay money. I'm not even getting you out of it totally. I'm just getting you a discount. That's 20% off any purchase, $200 or below, $20 off any purchase above $200. All right, Jesse, do we have Cubelic from some nondescript parking lot down in Birmingham? He's in his truck. That's adorable. Hey, do you have anything hanging from the rearview mirror, by the way? Don't mess up the shot. Oh, he messed up the shot. That's my fault. That's my fault, Jesse.
He's been in full panic mode for the last 30 minutes anyway, so I just made it worse. Put it on me. I'll take it.
Yeah. Did you happen to see the wedding video that got posted last night?
Did I? The best part was the first clip that I appeared upon right there kind of made it sound like I was, crapping on your wedding and your marriage. I was like, that he's going to leave the second part out. It's going to sound like this. Not what I would have said there. Thankfully, I think it came back in. So if people cut it off early, they're like, goodness, why did Josh even have that guy there?
I actually had the videographer, I slipped him an extra Hunsky if he would purposefully just go out of context mode the entire soundbite strip. But very beautiful. You got more comments than I did being in this thing. And then there's that freeze frame. Sure enough, the week of Auburn A&M, there's that freeze frame of you and Billy Lucci standing there. I don't know how frequently you guys are in the same room. I know you had him on your show earlier today, but a really rare occurrence. And that's the magic of weddings. Like, when else am I going to see Cubelic and Lucci in the same room?
Yeah, only every time I go to College Station and every SEC Media Days. Other than that, never. Also, my wife in that still photo is incredible. I mean, just living her best life to the nth degree. Trying to drag me out on that dance floor, which will never happen. But congrats to her for making a good run at it.
So that was fun. You are going to Kentucky, South Carolina this week.
Yep.
And so I know you've broken that down. I gave our 50,000-foot view earlier. I think people look at that and say, oh, that line's so low because South Carolina struggled a little bit this year, and so you got to kind of send a message, and they'll get right. Everybody just thinks, well, if things haven't gone well for you, and I had you ranked high in the preseason, if I serve you any of Vandy or Mississippi State or Kentucky, it's automatic get right. And I don't even think people are foolish enough to say it about the former two. They're kind of saying it about Kentucky, though. And I don't know what people have seen from South Carolina to think, well, that wide receiver depth, it'll just show up. That ground game, it'll just show up. And they'll be able to stiffen against the run, and Kentucky will have nothing here. So as specific as you want to get, how competitive do you expect that game to be?
I actually think it's going to be very competitive. There's some interesting aspects that you kind of started to go down a path for in this game. I feel like the game itself is a little flat, and it's odd because there's a lot of teams in college football this year that have good losses, really good losses, if there is such a thing. And people say, oh, they're still in contention. It's not over. We got all these ways to go. And could Notre Dame lose another game and still get in? Yeah, these two both were competitive for the most part in their losses. Now, there were aspects of their teams that didn't look great in those games, yet they've just been thrown out. Like, they're done. And I think it's intriguing because Ole Miss might end up being a really good football team. Vanderbilt is a team still not getting respect. And I think that's why people are where they are in South Carolina right now, Josh, is because they say, oh, you lost to Vanderbilt. And it's like it still has the odor that it did, 10 years ago when you lost that football game. And I just don't think it does anymore. You're talking about a Kentucky team, too, that had an injured starting quarterback. They've had to make that change. They've gone very young at that position, but he's now got a full game under his belt. And I think the run game for the Wildcats really close, very close. When you watch them, some of the gap scheme stuff looks really good. It's a South Carolina defense they have quality players up front, but they'll get a little over aggressive. And they'll freelance more this year than they have in the last few years. That's where Kentucky has to take advantage. I think Kentucky wants this to be about an hour and 45-minute game, get out of there as quickly as they can. The problem is I don't think South Carolina can control the ball to that extent. You mentioned some of those young receivers. Gamecocks did have two guys step up last week. They were not household names that we're kind of used to hearing and make some plays down the field. They just don't have it consistently. And there's not a lot of rhyme. There's not a lot of rhythm. There's not a lot of things that are married up in that South Carolina offense right now because it's so much Lenora Sellers being Superman. There's not a traditional run game for things to just lean on and then build upon. So I like Brad White. I like Clayton White. These are two of the most underrated defensive coordinators in the league. And you have a quarterback that can go take over a game and another one that we don't really know much about on the road in what should be a very difficult environment. I think it'll be competitive. I could see avenues for both those teams finding a way to win. And it's a little bit unfortunate that we just kind of throw these two teams out and said, oh, we're done with them. Well, talk about next year. Let's get the basketball season in Lexington, whatever it is. And I think there could still be some good football to play for both.
Just some quick feedback to add to that conversation in the live chat. One person, why is this dude homeless? Next person, buddy, seek out a men's shelter. You live in your car. Your thoughts?
I was actually going to do the show from the restaurant. We're doing a birthday dinner for my mom tonight. They're right across the street. I would turn around and show you, but I know Jesse would literally pass out if I did it twice. And there was music playing in the background. We're sitting outside. I have 3 children under the age of 11 with me. Didn't feel like that would give you or Jesse good vibes if I attempted to do that. So
well, if it's royalty-free music, we're fine with it, actually. We have to check that extra box if there are kids on the show, so that would suck for monetization. But, yeah, we'd be okay with it otherwise.
Next time we'll do that. Next time we'll just we'll sit you guys right in the family dinner, and I'll hop out of my GMC Sierra from Royal Buick GMC since everyone thinks I'm homeless, and we'll be good to go.
All right. Real talk here. I heard you and McElroy pretty much all week talking about Georgia-Bama. We talked about it all week here. There's this thing that sometimes happens. You said this. I perfectly agree with you. I align with you. There's this thing that happens where people get this idea in your head, like if you're Alabama. Well, we got to run the ball for X amount of yards or we're not going to win. And then conversely, I've got games like Penn State and Oregon. Penn State ran for 297 on Oregon in the Big Ten championship game and lost. So it's not like a unicorn of a number out there. But you made the point. You've kind of made it on the show already a couple of years, but it really hits home, I think, this week for Bama, that there are multiple ways to look at them gaining rushing yards that don't always mean, here, Jan Miller, run this ball as far as you possibly can. So take me down the road, just philosophically, of what you think Bama actually needs from the run game, how that's accomplished, how they go about winning this game if they do.
That's it. I think first it depends on definition of run game. If it's yours where you're going there, in agreements with McElroy and I, when you see a running back catch the ball out in the flat, that's an extension of the run game. That's essentially a toss sweep. And I think Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb look at that as, we're going to get the ball wider, faster, with a better opportunity to get north and south and make a play in space than if we were to toss this thing out there. It also gives you the option of throwing the ball down the field on that play. Therefore, perimeter defenders, alley defenders, deep defenders have to stay there and play other routes. They can't come attack the run the way that they would if you turned and tossed it or handed off on a stretch zone. What people don't understand about this offense, Josh, is that the running back is often the initial read, the primary read, so they can get the ball first. And those are the plays that we're describing. So they don't have to just go turn and hand it off 38 times, 42 times for it to look like they've controlled the game. They're not going to let you play running back in this offense if you can't catch the ball. It's something that you're going to need to do, something that you have to do. And at the same time, Ryan Grubb is not afraid to find a hammer and play downhill. Look at Dylan Johnson late in the year, a couple of years ago at Washington. I mean, he turned into a guy that was running inside zone and duo 15, 16 times a game, going right at defenses because they knew late in games when they did build the lead, he could help them hold on to it and secure it. So this is not a game that I would look at it from an Alabama perspective and say, you got to get to 150, you got to get to 175 on the ground, because a lot of those yards could be clouded in the box score under the passing column, which they were essentially run plays with what the mentality was when they were being called. And I don't go too far out of the way with that with Georgia either, because they're a heavy screen team. And Zachariah Branch has been a much better catcher of the football than I thought he would be at Georgia. I knew he could run, knew he could burn. I thought it would be jet sweeps, use him deep a couple of times, make people respect it. But he's actually a better receiver than I've seen him be at USC. And he's a guy that can really make you pay on those screens. They get great blocking from the tight ends on the perimeter, which allows that too. So that's sort of their extension of the run game. And I would almost count those as rushing yards for Georgia as I would a traditional handoff, because of the percentages that they have to be able to go. And they're a lot easier on your quarterback. So both of those types of plays are going to be big for both these offenses in this game.
Do you buy into the idea, because I kind of do, that you probably see a little higher pressure rate from Georgia this game because of the style of team they've played so far, because of how quick the ball gets out in general against the teams they've played so far this year? It may not, I guess I'll say it this way, it may not be the best collection of competition they've played so far to reflect what this game may look like. And so I'll take that. That's one layer of the cake. The next layer of the cake, the reason I ended up going with Georgia slightly in this game is I've seen so many times how this Alabama team, specifically offensive line, just looks like it gets put in a blender from an execution standpoint, from a communication standpoint, from a penalty standpoint on the road versus at home. And if you showed me this magic 8-ball view where that offensive line holds up beautifully, not a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson, I probably think Alabama wins the game by double digits Saturday. Because outside, I think they got huge advantages. There may be advantages for Georgia on the perimeter, O versus D. I know there are. Bama, O versus D. I gotta see that happen. I gotta see that functionality happen on the road for this Alabama team before I believe it. How do you think that piece of it plays out?
I think it's going to have to be orchestrated. I think it's going to have to be drawn up. And you listened to the show this week, so you already know the answer to this, but I doubt a lot of your viewers right now or listeners down the road know that there's not a Georgia defensive lineman on the team that's recorded a sack this year. They're tied for 115th in the nation in sacks. It's not what we're used to seeing. Other people kind of thought Elo Mendoza would solve some of these problems with being able to give you a little more twitch off the edge and being able to rush the passer, win some of those one-on-ones. So I don't think they're just going to be able to rely on front three, front four, maybe even with one extra pressure. I think it's going to have to be games, stunts. Guys are going to have to move. They're going to show things, get out of them. And Ty Simpson, keep in mind, he's been around there for a while, but the actual game experience is not deep. So environment, different looks, simulated pressures, could those things still be something that bothers him a lot? I think you're probably going to want to find out. Kirby Smart and company going to look at that and say, let's see what this kid's really made of, if he's ready to handle these situations. And if he does, He's got quick outlets. We mentioned the running backs. Cuevas has been great at tight end for Alabama this year. And where he could be extremely valuable if some of those things that we're talking about happen is he's great at just giving one thud, one shove, like getting a little, slab to the ribs and then getting out there for a quick outlet pass. And Ty Simpson's not afraid to challenge the middle of the field. And a lot of times when you get pressure, it's from one or two places, either right up the middle or off the edge. And if you want to try to go A-gaps on him, he's not afraid to put the ball there. That's not what a lot of quarterbacks in college football are comfortable with. He is. And so you have to be very careful with him attacking you there. I think it's almost kind of the story of the weekend in the SEC is pressure, how are you going to get it, and who all gets it. Like if you look at A&M and Auburn, it's the exact opposite. I don't think either one of those two teams are going to be pressure heavy in that game. But I think the front fours, you have to be very careful with what they can do to those two offensive lines that have kind of been up and down a little bit this year. You go to LSU, Ole Miss. We don't think there's going to be any problem for LSU getting pressure on anybody. But how much does Blake Baker really bring with the quick game and the mobile quarterback? You don't want them to be able to break you down because you got over aggressive and overzealous. And by the way, one of the teams tied with Georgia at 115th in the nation in sacks is Ole Miss. So are they going to get home against Garrett Nussmeier? If you run a twist off the right side, that'll probably be the way. And also, you referencing some of the Alabama offensive line as being in a blender at times. I'd like to know what you graded the tornado that the Georgia right tackles have been in a lot of the times in pass protection this season, because that's got to be like an F-42 with what some guys have done to them.
Yeah, one of them's got to deal with the road, the other doesn't. I have no clue what they're going to do on the right side. Look, it sounds by the looks of things they're going day to day over there. Ernest Green looks to be out in this one, so
yep.
One, maybe two true freshmen is if Gaston goes, at the very least one true freshman there. That's what I was going to ask you. So the Georgia ground game here and how everything works off of it. Like we were just talking about Bama. Okay, well, Bama for a long time, everything worked off the run game, play action, and then you got DeBoer in there, and it's nice to have it, but it's not mandatory you have it in the traditional sense, in the stat category. Okay, well, Kirby and Mike Bobo have run this thing forever at Georgia. So you got what you got there this year, but you've got that offensive line in a very much a state of flux. And then there are a lot of you're a big PFF guy, I know, so I'll throw the PFF stuff at you. You got the number 5 pressure front right now from Alabama.
What does that even mean?
Again, that's not my numbers. How you can't argue with this. You're trying to argue with science and math, buddy. That's PFF. That's not JDP. That's PFF. Write that down, Jesse. JDP. We could actually monetize that. So how does that little matchup play out? It's actually not a little matchup. It's a big matchup. How does that play out? Is there a world, in other words, where the Georgia offensive line is such a mess they can't even consistently function, and you're sitting there watching it going like, this is a disaster? Because I'd have a hard time. Kirby and them know what they have. I'd have a hard time as you grin bigger and bigger just watching them not be able to do anything. There's no way that happens, correct?
The times in which that's happened in the past, and this is twofold going back to both teams, do they need to just run the football? The times in which teams in this league have done that, their offensive line and their running backs, whether it's been Darren McFadden, Mark Ingram, Bo Jackson, Garrison Hurst, whoever you want to go pick out, were so good. It oftentimes didn't matter what front you were in or what defense you played. Like they were going to figure it out because the guys were that good. One, I don't think running back is that talented or that deep in the league this year. Not that some aren't good or great, but it's not like all-time SEC great that we've seen in the past. The other position that's not, we know offensive line isn't, is defensive line. And the times in which the things that you're referencing have happened and offensive lines have been just completely wrecked, like literally set up with sticks of dynamite at every position and just unloaded on in every series, has been when the fronts are all-time great. Defensive linemen, defensive tackles, edge defenders, linebackers. We don't have a lot of that in the league this year, Josh. The front sevens are not that dominant to where they can just play you light, kind of like Tennessee has done, or Tennessee, what happened to them against Georgia a few years ago and why that game was so different this year. When Georgia playing 4 in the box and they can't get a yard on the ground. I think the only 2 teams in the league that can maybe do that this year, one is going to be Oklahoma for sure. I think Tennessee has the capabilities to do it defensively. And I think LSU does, but I almost think that's more scheme than it is just bodies. Like that, this is not Booger McFarland and Marcus Spears and Tyson Jackson and those kind of guys up there. There's no Glenn Dorsey's in the league this year, really, especially inside. So the times in which you weren't able to do that and you were completely shut down that way, it was more because the guys across from you were so good. It didn't matter if you were a mess or a wreck or didn't know where to go. They were just going to blow it up anyway, even if you executed it perfectly. Ask Les Miles when he went to Alabama and tried to run, toss zone or toss lead, whatever they called it, 57 times into Ashawn Robinson and those guys. That wasn't going to go, no matter how well they blocked it. So I don't think Alabama is that dominant defensively this year. I've seen Georgia run gap schemes where they get out in space and make things go. They get pullers in space. They find corners. They get guys kicked out. They have the capabilities to do it. Getting Tim Keenum's back going to help, but how many snaps do we really anticipate he goes? Like 20 max, I would say, with what you're coming off of. Jamarian Latham's a really good player. I think James Smith's a really good player, but they don't have Jonathan Allen's. There's not Derek Thomas's over there. So could it be a tough sledding? Could it be rough on them? Yes. Is it going to completely just melt? No, I don't think so, because I've seen enough good snaps at times from the Georgia offensive line, and the backs are talented. And you're also throwing in a mobile quarterback, which changed. Now you got to defend my backside. You got to make sure you're not squeezing down that defensive end. That alley defender's got to be aware. So you're changing how you handle things defensively with what Gunnar Stockton can do. So, no, I don't think that it gets to that level because, one, not that Alabama's defense is not good, because that's going to be the whole comments are going to be filled up with that now. But it ain't Bama good like we have talked about in the past. And I think everyone should be fairly comfortable saying that.
Did you pick a winner of this game publicly this week?
I have not. I was going to do that on the show tomorrow. I'm an Alabama lean right now.
But a lot could change at dinner tonight.
Yeah, when my 10-year-old daughter starts talking about the interior run game of both these teams and what she wants to see from a coverage perspective from both teams, that could completely go out the window.
Right. All right. Well, it's
in between unicorns and wicked discussion.
It is. It's getting dark there. I'm halfway confident you're parked in the handicap spot anyway. So plug Cube Show. Let people know where they can find it, and then we'll get you out of here.
Would never park in a handicap spot, even though I feel like I'll be eligible for one soon. Cube Show on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Having a terrible week, by the way. It's been rough. I guess I just did a bad job on this last episode. Last two have been pretty bad.
Probably a thumbnail.
So we're going to try to rally next week. And see if we can figure that out. Tuesday day night is cranking, though. We're crushing it over there.
Yeah, you won't.
Macaroni and Cubelic in the morning. Nobody cares about.
You'll be in football 5 more years max, and then you just become a general social influencer. Actually, Kat does, and you're the caboose in that whole train.
Well, if you keep posting pictures of her partying at receptions, then yeah, the business is going to pick up.
Yeah, that's the plan. All right, go enjoy dinner.
Thank you, Josh.
That's Cole Cubelic, and that's our show. We got to get out of here. All right, remember Friday Night Lines tomorrow. We're going to do it 5 Eastern, 4 Central. That is on Instagram Live at Josh Pate CFB. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't care about that, you also need to know that on Saturdays, there is a ton of stuff that I put in the Instagram story, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. We're on the sidelines at these games. Okay, so if you want to get behind the scenes, if you want to be outside of a lot of places you would normally not see, Bama, Georgia at night, USC, Illinois during the day, at Josh Pate CFB. That thing's very lively every day of the week, but especially on Saturday. All right, that's our show. We will be back Sunday night to recap it all. Until then, for Director Bradley, for Producer Jesse, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. Enjoy a monster week of games. Talk to you Sunday. God bless.